I don't know if you know this or if you remember this, but I was probably 2013 or 14. We were at Norwich at the bowling alley.
Yeah.
And I had asked you because you had the IQ Tour Solid.
Correct.
And you had a bunch of them that were drilled differently.
Yep.
And I don't know if you remember me asking you. I'm like, why do you have it like that?
Possibly.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, you're the reason why I have multiple IQ tours.
Okay, cool. I'm glad that worked out for you. I did right then.
Yeah, it worked out really well. That's probably my favorite ball in my bag.
Yeah, it was a good ball.
I'm surprised they still make it.
Yeah, they when they find something that works, they definitely stretch it as long as they can, you know, and then they reinvent it as something else. So their R&D is not as cost so much.
No, I haven't seen you probably since then. It's been a while.
Yeah.
You just kind of pop back up on Monday nights. You bowling Friday nights still? Or?
No, I'm not. I don't really bowl a lot. Yeah. I had some personal stuff going on 2018, so sort of got out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I bowl tournaments here and there. I still go to the Nationals every year. I mean, I bowl 3 games a week. Just, there's your life takes twists and turns that you never expect.
Yeah.
And that's sort of what happened with me. So it was like bowling got put on the back burner.
Yeah. Well, it's nice seeing you guys back at the bowling alley. When I saw you, Paul Smith, and you guys, I'm like, fuck, here we go.
Yeah, for a while, we were like, we'd walk into a place and people are like, it's over.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a good run for like 10 or 12 years. I mean, we can still compete.
Sure.
We definitely could probably still do it if we really put our minds to it. But everybody, like I said, life has twists and turns. You have kids and stuff, and bowling's not as important as it once was.
For sure.
I mean, I like the game, but it's a game.
That's right.
It's not life.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it for a living.
Mm-hmm.
I would never want to do that.
Yeah.
That's brutal on everybody.
How many kids do you have?
I have 2 kids. My son is 15 and my son is 13. I'm sorry. My son's 15 and my daughter is 12.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yes. And that's sort of where this envision of a card store has come to fruition.
Yeah. So you came up with the idea? Did you sit down with him? What was that?
So
what was that like?
I had always growing up, I had collected with my father and stuff. It was sort of our bonding time. And then, in like 90, the early 90s, we do card shows and stuff. And that was good. I mean, back then, you're a 10-year-old kid, 12-year-old kid, and you're walking around with $500 in your pocket from selling cards. Like that's a lot of money back then, and like 1998, 99, we sort of got out of it. I mean, because that was when the downfall was. We were in it through the junk era, where they mass produced everything. And it was just one of those things. We got out of it. And then I would dabble here and there, but nothing serious. And like I said, in 2018, my life, twists and turns. And I was bored, so I got back into it.
Yeah.
And when I first got back into it, my daughter would love to open the pack. She was all into it. My son goes, "Oh, this is the stupidest thing in the world." I'm like, okay, whatever. So we would, we'd keep ripping packs and stuff. She loved it. She got really into the wrestling part of it. She loved it. She didn't like baseball, basketball so much. And then just during COVID, there was like no live sports, nothing. And my son started to love it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we'd open every time they come over, can we open a box? Can we open a box? So we would just start opening it. And then he got into it. He's got his own little collection. And it just sort of stemmed from there, and I go to shows, you travel and stuff, and there's no local card shop. You cannot walk into somewhere and buy cards. I mean, there's a few, like there's CNS in Plainfield.
Yeah.
There's the card vault, but the card vault's high. You can't, the average kid can't walk in there with $40 and buy something.
Right.
So this is when, we started pondering it, and I was like, you know what, let's do it. I've always wanted to do it since the early 90s. Yeah. There used to be a card shop in Groton, Ken Sports Cards.
Yeah.
And we had actually talked to buying it. We couldn't come to an agreement on the terms of the lease.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't end up buying that. So then I just came with this brainstorm and said, let's do it.
How long have you been in, what's that process been like for you guys?
We found a location in August, and then they had a little bit of work to do. And then September, we worked a little bit in September. And then October 1st, we went gung-ho. And we built it from the ground up. So I mean, if you follow it on Facebook at all, you can see the pictures and the transformation. It is it's unbelievable.
Is a lot of legwork? Like, so you obviously you have the cases coming in.
So yeah, so what I did was I searched out the cases. Like that's what I would do every single night. I found the best deal was this company from Georgia. So they send me a picture of this pallet that's in freight, and it's just one pallet. I'm like, that's not what you advertised on your website. Well, I had to build everything. So I'm like, oh my God, this is going to take forever. Well, believe it or not, they were very easy to build, and it was sort of one day. And we had it done in about a day and a half total. And then since then, we've been up and running.
When you were a kid, who were some of your favorite players to collect?
So I was a big Mike Piazza fan.
Oh, are you a Mets fan?
I am not.
Okay.
I was a big Mike Piazza fan. Funny story. It was 1993. We had actually went to my father had taken me to the Baseball Hall of Fame. So we're walking around, we're looking at all the players. And that day it was the Dodgers. I think we're playing the Indians in like the field they have out back at, I think it's Doubleday Field or whatever it is. So we were there, we're walking around and stuff, and we're looking at the plaques. And next thing you know, there's this guy standing next to me, and it was Brett Butler. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool, from the Dodgers, and like he was in a suit and tie, like how some of the senior major leaguers were.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I look over to my right and there's this guy and he's just in normal street clothes. And it was Mike Piazza. I'm like, cool. Hey, are you Mike Piazza? And he's like, yeah. I didn't get his autograph or nothing, but that was just something that transpired, I guess, as you would say. And ever since then, I was a big collector of him. I mean, I tried to collect all his cards. Back in the 90s, it was a lot easier. There wasn't so many different variations. Now there's a ton. I wouldn't try to do it now. It's just it's crazy. But I still have all that stuff. I still have all the stuff growing up as a kid. And now that's the stuff that's worth money that everybody wants.
Yeah, that's it. That's right. And so going even back to what you were saying earlier, so you said 2018 you kind of get back into it. I didn't hear a lot of people talking about it between 2018 and 2020. COVID happens, and then boom, takes off, and you see a lot of the breaks, you see a lot of the rooms in the kind of flash sales and auctions and stuff like that. How has that impacted the collector's game, and has it changed it for the better or for the worse?
So it changed it for the better. So what happened was, my take on it, and everybody's take is going to be different. During COVID, there was no live sports, obviously, for, a little while. There was whatever it was, week, month, whatever it was. There was no live sports
until July 23rd.
Okay, so
Actually, it might have been beforehand because of the UFC stuff down in Florida.
Yeah, but to like baseball, basketball, there was no live sports, so people were looking for another way to
compete.
I would say not compete, but sort of get their
dopamine hits.
Yeah, I'm struggling here a little bit, but they were looking for that interaction with the sports, and cards was the closest thing they could get. And not only that, but it brought them closer with their families, because they were at home. They could open the packs and they would relive like the sports memories, I guess you could say, because during COVID we didn't know what was going to happen. Right. Scary time in this country. And that made the market boom. Like it took off from there. And I mean, it climbed very rapidly.
It collapsed quick too, though, right?
It did a little bit, but now it's sort of coming back. I mean,
I'm seeing that.
It's never gonna, I don't feel it's gonna get like it was in the the early 2000s where it died. I just don't think it's going to get to that point, because there's so much different stuff now and everybody's into it. You talk to people that you wouldn't think collect, and they're big time collectors, The breakers sort of, I would say, transformed the industry. I remember back in, I think it was 1998 when PSA came out in Beckett, and everybody thought it was a joke. Like, grading these cards, they're like, oh, this isn't going to last, everything else. And look at what that did.
Well, I didn't realize it was that's not that long ago.
Yeah, no. It was, I think it was like 97, 98. Cause maybe 97, 98. Cause I graded some cards back then, and you're like, oh, this is what is this? How are these people going to tell you the value? Yeah. And ever since they did, that sort of transformed the industry. and it's
because now it became a hobby to an investment.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. I mean, a lot of these hedge fund groups you'll read where they're buying like Michael Jordan rookie cards PSA 10 because they know the value's there. I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but they do it.
They're hedging their money
They are.
inflation. That's
the
name of the game.
Yes, they do it.
Where are you now primarily? Are you primarily collector, primarily investments? You kind of mix it between. Obviously, you got the shop with your.
No, I don't really collect anything. I mean, I have a few cards here and there that I like. I mean, my favorite set of all time is the 86-87 Flair basketball set with the Jordan. I mean, that is by far the best set I think there ever was produced. People argue with you and say, well, it was a 52 tops with the mantle, and I guess yes, but I mean, of this era, I would say that was probably the coolest set ever. That's the first basketball set, and there was people that were those boxes when they first came out, they sold for like $10. Wow! And nobody wanted them. Like they were giving them away at shows. A box of that stuff is stupid money. I mean, I don't even know. I wouldn't even want to put a figure on it. I mean, but there was a guy that had a full pallet in his garage.
I mean, complete set, like from card 1 to whatever card.
Yes, card 1 to 132, and then there was the sticker set, and that was Jordan's rookie year. Like Jordan was in there, Clyde Drexler, Isaiah Thomas, Karl Malone. A ton of Hall of Famers. But getting back to that, there was a guy in the Midwest somewhere, and he actually had a pallet still in his garage, shrink wrapped. And I don't know how many cases were on that pallet, but back then it was like 36 packs to a box, and I'm gonna say there was 12 boxes in a case. And he had a whole pallet, and the pallet was worth like $1.5 million. Like
sitting on Bitcoin.
Yeah, like 10 years ago. So now you can only imagine that. And with that, the companies were new into the sports card industry. So what they did was they would correlate all the cards in the pack. So the top card, you would find out, you open a bunch of card packs and the next card is the same exact card. So now when these people are breaking these packs that they're selling for $10,000, $12,000, because you can get a Jordan in there. If that top card's in there, normally there's a Michael Jordan behind it.
Are they made the same? So like obviously like a PSA 9 versus a PSA 10. It just seems like there's a little bit of objectivity on who decides what is the 10 or the 9.
Correct. I hem and haw over that all the time, because what happens if, the guy who works for the grading company, he had a bad morning, comes into work, he's upset, he had a flat tire on the way to work, whatever. How does that not judge that he decides to give your Michael Jordan a 10 when the guy next to him, gives that Jordan a 9 and the guy next to him, he gets a 10. How does that work?
I know. I wonder what their like incentive, if any.
I don't think there is.
Yeah.
A funny story was I sent probably a year ago, I sent some cards out to SGC. They're another card grading company. Yep. And first time I ever submitted with them. And it was like a 30-day. You would have your cards back in 15 days. So I sent it out. And in that time they had a special going on with 2023 Bowman baseball. So I send them the cards. I don't hear anything back in like 15 days. I'm sending them an email and I'm like, hey, I didn't get my cards back yet. Oh, we're running behind. We had a bulk special. We apologize, everything else. Well, moral of the story is I sent like 6 Tom Brady's out. And every Tom Brady I got back was a 10. Wow. So it's like, was that their way of saying, sorry, we messed up? That always lives in the back of my mind.
That is interesting, because when I think about it, I'll give you a little bit of my story into the game. I remember having back in the day, I bought baseball cards because they have the packs at the Sarge's Comics in New London or 7-Eleven or anything like that, and you get pretty cool cards. And I was a big Derek Jeter fan, so any Derek Jeter card I kept, Alex Rodriguez, any Yankee really, Alfonso Soriano, I would keep those, and I would put them on my wall, and I would put them on the wall with a piece of tape. I'm so mad that I did that, because when I look back at some of the cards that I had, it was like, I had the the Jeter card. I don't know how expensive it is these days, but it's the Jeter card where in the background, I think Bush or somebody's in the background. It's an old Topps card with a black
Yep,
border.
yep. I think that was 2006,
Yeah,
2007,
yeah,
somewhere in there.
and supposedly the value had been increased because of the image in the back, or the person that was in the back. I can't remember
Correct.
who it was. Anyway, so I had that card, and it was taped on the wall. And I remember probably in like 2000, when I moved out of my mom's house in 2013, I found it, and it just had the corner just like ripped off. And
Yeah.
I'm like, God. But anyway, so we would collect based off of my fandom and all that stuff. 2021 rolls around, I FOMO into the hobby again. And I had been thinking about jumping in, and I would go to Walmart and I'd buy just kind of like this top series one small packs, not the complete sets. I'd go do that. And I didn't realize that I still wasn't buying the stuff the right way. And then there's that complete set, which I bought, and they had the parallel variations, which I hit a couple of variations and I just kept them. I still actually have them in the box. I didn't touch it. In 2021, that wasn't a really big class, I don't think. Obviously, with baseball, you could think of like the 2018.
It was 2021 was like Alec Bohm and Luis Robert.
Yeah,
I mean, they never panned out to be superstars.
Right. So they're just sitting there, and then I talked to my buddy over at the car dealership in at Charles Toyota. He's like, "No, dude, you got to get into the ripping the boxes." So there's a little bit of gambling when it comes to that. So the problem with this is the first box I ever ripped was a 2020 or 21 Allen Ginter, and I never, again, haven't done enough research to know what I should be ripping and buying. So I rip it up, and the first pack I open up is a case hit, and I'm like, I didn't know it was a case hit, so I look at it and I'm like, well, who's this? It's Johnny Bench, number 5, red border. So, oh, sweet. So
nice card.
Yeah, very nice card. I don't have it anymore because I sold it. I actually sold it for a decent amount of money. So I sent it off to SGC. It's a little bit of gambling when you buy all these boxes, but it just seems like it's also a little bit of gambling when you send it into like PSA or Beckett, or I've never sent to Beckett. I've only sent to SGC. Actually, I have a bunch of stuff that I'm going to send out to PSA here in a little bit. I get nervous that I've read something a little while ago. This is probably a year or so ago, but that there was like some trimming scandal in with PSA. What do you know about that?
I don't really know about that. All these things you have is hearsay.
Sure.
The big dollar cards, like ones that you can't replace, basically, like like an 86 Flair Michael Jordan. Me personally, I have a couple of them. I would never send them in the mail to PSA, Beckett, SGC to get it graded. I would take the trip to Dallas. If I was going to PSA, I would take the trip so I can literally hand them that card, because there's no way for you to mark that card to know that you're getting it. Well, who doesn't?
Wow.
What doesn't say that they're switching it with somebody else's? Wow. If you have a 10, who's not saying that they're switching that card? Not that they're going to switch that card. Yeah. I'm not saying they're dishonest at anything, but
never know.
But you never know. I mean, again, it's the same thing as getting back to the guy that's having a bad day. What happens if he has one that's a 6 and he knows yours is a 10? Who doesn't say he switches it? Nobody's watching. Again, I can't confirm that. I'm not, I don't want to start rumors or anything. Sure. But I don't trust with sort of those big money cards to do that. I mean, I would take the flight down and do it. It's
they do it right there, like for you.
So you can do a walk-in grading, I think, or walk-through grading, something like that. I believe they offer that, but it's obviously more money. And I mean, you're not doing that with a $10 card.
Right. They have the tools that you can buy and say, oh, the edges are right, the car is centered. Are those effective? Do you believe?
They give you a generalized idea, I would say. I mean, there's a show coming up on November 23rd and 24th in Mohegan Sun. There's a company that are out in New Hampshire. I think they call them TGA or something. And what they do is a raw review. So you can bring them their card. They'll do like a raw review on the card and they'll grade it for you. It's $10.
They'll do it there on spot.
They'll do it on spot. It takes about 15 minutes. A lot of times if we have cards, I do it with my kids too because it's fun. So I spend $10 and, they bring 5 cards over, so it's $50, but we see what we get. I mean, we've got a couple of 10s from them, and I mean, they're probably not as hard as PSA or these other companies, so theirs might be a little more lenient. But at least if they give you a 10, maybe SGC will give you a 10, Beckett might give you a 9.5, and PSA might give you a 9 or a 10, so it's somewhere in there. You're gambling, obviously, but for $10, I'll take it. It's fun, and then I sell it at the show. If I can get 70% of comps of a PSA, hey, I'm happy. I'm not into that card for that much.
Sure. Are you going to be in the show?
Yeah, we will be there. We'll have a table there. We're gonna. So it's a little different now with a store. So it brings a little more added incentive. Where somebody buys something from you there, hopefully they come over to the store, check it out. We're gonna do like if you go in and you show your wristband that you were at the show and all weekend long, you show your wristband, we'll give you 5% off in the store. Cool. Something just to say thank you for stopping by.
Yeah. What's the shop like now? What's the setup like? What's it look like? How,
So, if you go on, we're actually on Facebook. I think it's All Ball Sports Cards and More. You can check it out. I mean, we have pictures of how from day one when we started to where we are now. We have quite a few showcases. I mean, I'd like to say that we have the largest selection of blaster boxes, mega boxes, not necessarily hobby boxes, but we have the largest selection in Eastern Connecticut. I mean, you walk in, we have the one wall where the wax is 24 feet, and we have probably a good 16 to 20 feet of assorted wax, whether you're looking for basketball, football, hockey, MLB, we have it.
So these were my after going down the rabbit hole of buying, again, not knowing, really not doing a lot of research, just getting off on the thrill of ripping and autographs and not knowing certain players and this and that started with the Allen Ginter, went to the Panini, not really realizing I only did baseball. And actually your break was the first time that I got into football.
Yes, thank you. That was the first ever break that we did. I mean, it was, it's exciting and nerve-wracking. I let my son sort of do it. I was just there to assist him. He did a great job for being that. I mean, as you could see when you get later on into the break, like box 10 or 12, he's getting more excited, so sure. That was pretty cool to see the smile on his face.
And he'll only get better with time.
Yes. So. Oh, God, yeah. I mean, he is, like I said, he's 15, but he's years ahead of where he actually is physically in life.
Yeah. He's a ninth grader, 10th grader?
10th grade, I think.
Yeah, good for him.
No. I'm sorry. He's in ninth because he played freshman baseball this year.
Cool.
So yes.
So then I learned that the Panini stuff's not licensed, so like they really don't have any value unless you get for baseball.
Correct.
Unless you get some crazy parallel or anything like that. And then I jump into Bowman and I'm like, okay, I can see why these are the Bowman Chrome, Bowman First, why these might have a little bit more value. So then I eventually was like, all right, I got to stop buying all this stuff because I probably sitting on like 30,000 cards at home. And kind of I've been recently sorting through and honestly getting into your break got me back into it a little bit, searching stuff on 130 Point, going on eBay, seeing what I can move for, what do I think I can make some money on?
Sure.
But then I go into these, and these are the ones that I collect. I'm sure you heard of them.
Well, I know you're a big Yankee fan. So
the Project 70s, which I thought was really cool, like concept of a card.
They definitely are a cool concept of a card.
Yes, they're not anything other than that.
Correct.
And that's why I did it, because it was a lower value. I can get 4 for $80 and I fill up a whole case. I have 40 of them.
Yes.
And it just and then I saw they had the Project 20 the year before 2020. And they tried to do something else afterward, but they kind of fizzled out. So these are my obviously this is trying to mimic the Mickey Mantle card. And they made thousands of these cards.
Yes, those are cool cards. I like the ones that I actually like now is the Topps Now.
Yes.
So it catches them in the moment, and what they do is they randomly insert autograph cards.
Yep.
So you get that, like getting to the basketball one, even though Topps doesn't have the license for basketball, it's just they're in their jerseys, no team logos.
Right.
But they had that card of LeBron James, Steph Curry, and I think it was
Giannis.
No, I think it was Kevin Durant.
Okay.
And there was a 1 of 1.
Yep.
And, one of these big sports card stores put out a, $1 million bounty on it if you got the card, or a $500,000 bounty, whatever it is. I don't exactly know. But that's awesome that the average person is going to open that up and get that, and somebody's going to instantly be, richer, life-changing money.
Yeah. It's interesting at that concept because they did that with Bowman for the Andrew Jones.
The Andrew Jones, yes, they paid $250,000 for that card. That was the bounty on that.
But it's brilliant on their end.
It is very brilliant
because it's just going to drive people to pretty much buy anything. Now, is there something like that? You're probably going to find it more on a case as opposed to a mega or a hobby. What do you think?
It is. It could be in anything.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to think, and it's just one person's opinion, but you watch all these breaks on there,
Yes.
and it seems like certain people hit certain cards.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to wonder, because they know that these places do volume
Mm-hmm.
and they're going to do it, do they tend to send the case to them so they end up with the hit?
Yeah.
Like somebody, I think it was Steel City Collectibles. They opened the new, I think it was Select WNBA, and they hit the Caitlin Clark Superfractor 1 of 1.
And it always seems like it's them.
And it's them, Filth Bomb, all these Backyard Breakers, all these guys, they hit it. So you sort of wonder, is it taken away from the average collector? That answer nobody knows. Getting back to after we talked about the junk era and everything, the 89 Upper Deck was like the one that changed the game. The first glossy card, the Ken Griffey, a box was $60, $70, $80. And then I remember in 1993, Upper Deck came out with SP, and that was the foil card of Derek Jeter, the rookie card. That was the first box to ever eclipse $100.
Wow.
And people were like, oh my God, $100, you're crazy. Now you have a box of that, it's $2,000 if you have that still sealed. And then what happened was from there, Topps pushed the game with Topps Finest Baseball. And that was a box that was $200, $300, somewhere in that price range. Then they did it with the basketball, and ever since then, it's been a steady climb.
Yeah.
Today, $200 or $300 for a box is nothing. There was a I don't know if you follow basketball or not, but there was a box that Topps produced of Victor Wembanyama.
Just him, the entire
just
box?
Him. The whole box was him. You were guaranteed, I think 3 autographs, 99 or less, maybe 25, whatever it was. And the starting price on that box for 10 card, I believe it's 10 cards, might be 8 cards, I'm not 100% sure, was $79.99. So $8,000 for 10 cards.
That's ridiculous. And that's obviously, you're not guaranteed that you're going to recoup your money on that.
You're not guaranteed you're going to recoup your money. And the tough thing right now with the 23-24 Topps basketball is it's not licensed by the NBA. So it's him in a white jersey that says number 1. It doesn't even say the Spurs on it, and people are chasing these.
I want to get back to that, actually. So I want to tell you a funny story because you mentioned the 1989 Upper Deck. That's the Griffey card.
The Griffey card.
I think you had Randy Johnson in there, Mark McGuire. There's a few other names in there. I was in Atlanta in 2017, and it was me, my buddy Dom, and my buddy Dave. My buddy Dom's a huge wrestling fan. Shout out to him. He has a podcast, the It Doesn't Matter podcast, and it's all wrestling encompassing. They do a really good job, and he's part of the motivation why I started the podcast.
I'd like to talk to him because we have a large collection of wrestling figures at the store, and not to cut you off, but to bring it in there. So my daughter, she's into wrestling. So what we did was we have a wall, and it's 8 feet, and it's wrestling action figures, and then we have a showcase in front of it. So that's sort of her corner.
That's cool.
Like Emerson's corner, and it's all wrestling based stuff. So that's her to incorporate both the kids in the store.
I would definitely connect you guys, and he likes to do a lot of live shows and stuff like that too. So, he's the main reason, one of the big reasons why I started my own podcast. But I show you this because this is just one of my favorite cards. It's the Ken Griffey Jr. With the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air kind of art, which is a lot of cool.
That's cool.
So we're in Atlanta, and I see we're on our way out to our last day there, and in their conference room, they have this kind of trade show. It's a sports trade show. They have all sorts of memorabilia, and I saw this 1989 Upper Deck set, and it had a Ken Griffey Jr. and a PSA Slab 8.
Oh, nice.
And I'm like, oh, cool. And I was like, should I buy this? It's like $85 or something like that. Should I buy it? I walked out. We were about to hop into the Uber to get to the airport, and I ended up going back in and buying it. Fast forward to, I want to say 2018 or 2019. I had a coworker. His name is, goodness, what? I'm just blanking on his name for some reason. Robert Mendez. Sorry, Rob. He's no longer he retired. But Bob Mendez, he's a big Mets fan. He's a baseball card collector. And I didn't really take good care of the slab. I bought it just to buy it because I thought it was cool. And the slab cracked. And I was like, yeah, Rob, I have all these cards. Like, have a look at them, take a look at some values. And I slapped put that card in the bag for him. Never got the card back.
Really?
Never got the card back. So I have 2 through whatever number count it is on that. But yeah, it's one of those things that it's my fault for not really paying attention to.
That's funny because I was in Tampa, Florida, probably 2 years ago. So they have a show in like West Palm at the Kennel Club or something, whatever. So I go and I'm looking around, and that was it was probably 2022 because that was when Mac Jones was hot.
Yeah.
So everybody down in Florida, they don't like the Patriots, so you could go down there. You could buy Mac Jones cards dirt cheap. So I stocked up on them. Obviously, that was the wrong investment. But getting back to that, there was a guy that had like 10 or 12 89 Upper Deck Ken Griffey Jr. cards. So I'm like, oh, perfect. I'm like, how much you want? The guy's like $25 a piece. So I buy one. Perfect, no problem. Fast forward, get back to where we're staying, looking through the cards. The cards are counterfeit.
Oh, no.
The guy counterfeit. So I reach out to him. I told him where I bought it from, the show promoter where I bought it from, and nothing. Didn't hear nothing. So when when you get into those older cards and even the newer high-end cards, there's a lot of reprints, fake cards out there. Yeah. So watch out, to the collectors. Don't get scammed. I mean, fortunately for me, it was $25. I mean, not that I like losing $25, right, but it is what it is.
Going back to earlier, you mentioned the junk wax era where they mass produce a ton of cards. Yep. I kind of felt like that was happening again in the last couple of years. But again, I would say particularly baseball, because I would, go into Target and, buy like 3 or 4 blaster boxes, more mega boxes. And, you rip and it's like, dude, I just pulled like 12 of Max Muncy, like their base cards.
They got back.
And the quality is terrible with the curve, the curvature to the card.
Yes, the Panini was like, the Panini, I feel they mass produced, obviously, because they don't have the logos. Topps is the only one that has the logos. So for them to mass produce it, who cares?
Yeah, right.
I mean, but you still get, it's fun opening it because you never know. You could hit that 1 of 1. Not that you're going to get anything, I mean, for the 1 of 1, a Panini card, MLB, but still, I
made actually a decent amount of money. I ripped a Panini. I want to say it was a blaster. It was 2021 or 22. And I got a 1 of 1 Fernando Tatis.
Oh, nice.
And I made like $200 on it.
Yeah, nice.
I sold it raw. I should have and got it graded.
Yeah, the 1 of 1. Certain players go for a little more, like Tatis. My daughter actually collects him, and my son is a huge Rafael Devers fan.
Yeah. And I see here you have.
Yes, we have a ton of Rafael Devers. I mean, this is just one of them.
Is that a triple thread?
No, it's just out of select, but it's like a laundry tag.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. This card is actually, it's part of the jersey with the Boston on it, and it's numbered cool. 11 out of 25, which is cool. This one here is 4 out of 5, so there's only 5 in the world. We have 1 of them, so we have 20% of the cards in the world. This one is 10 out of 10. And we were actually at a show, and there was 2 of these in there, and I ended up, it was 6 out of 10 and 10 out of 10. I bought the 10 out of 10. I didn't buy the 6 out of 10. We have a lot of Rafael. He has a ton of Devers stuff. I mean, cards. He probably has 500.
Yeah. Will you send those to get graded?
I won't, because that's just something that he collects. I mean, I had no Devers in the store, and he had some duplicates, so I had to. Literally, I probably got $30 worth of cards, but I had to buy, there was 5 cards. And he goes, well, you got to replace the 5 cards. So I went on and probably spent $200 on autographs to replace the 5 cards, but that's how it is. It's for him,
So you would only grade stuff that you plan on moving.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I, stuff like this that's going to go in a personal collection. I don't grade it. There's,
Right.
I mean, we have some that's graded. I buy them, whatever they are.
Mhm.
But, when people come up to my table, if we're at a show or in the store and they want to sell a Devers card, we buy it.
Mhm.
And a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to sell it. I'm like, listen, if you buy it, it's never going to see the light of day. You know,
Right.
I mean, I'm not going to sell these cards because you can't replace them.
Right.
Do
you sit on wax?
I do. I have a bunch of 2020 football.
How do you stay so disciplined to just not rip them, man?
I equate it to money. Every time that I open something, I'm going to lose the value because the odds of me hitting that card are slim and none.
Right.
Funny story, and him and haw myself all the time for this. Back in 2020, I used to watch this guy. I know he was a breaker, and he would do he threw up a Prism hobby box, and the Bengals were for $95. So I had it typed in. I didn't hit send. It was like 11:30 at night. I didn't hit send on the $95. So whatever. So I'm watching the break. So he's opening the box, and in one of the packs, there's a gold vinyl. So, moral of the story is it was a Joe Burrow rookie gold vinyl 4 of 5 autograph.
Jeez.
So the card, the guy that got it, he sold it. He sent it to PSA. It came back at 10. Sold that card to somebody for $15,000. So that was a nice hit. $95. You pay $150 to grade it, so you're in for let's call it $250. Sold it for $15,000. That to my knowledge, that is the only Joe Burrow gold vinyl that has been pulled so far. There's 4 or 5. When they made the Super Bowl 2022, correct?
Yes.
I believe it was 2022.
Lost, right?
Yes, they lost to the Chiefs.
Yeah.
No, maybe not the Chiefs. The Rams, I think it was.
Yes.
They lost to Stafford. That same card sold for $250K. The guy that bought that for 15 sold that for 250. So I always sort of kick myself for that. That's one card that I didn't buy that I could have bought.
Yeah.
I mean, and 250,000, that's, for some people that's life-changing money, I mean,
what?
It's the same as taking a gamble in the stock market.
For sure.
And
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is what it is. And
win some, lose some, right?
It's the other thing is, in 93, 94, doing the card shows, I was 10 years old, 11 years old. People would come up to you with an 86 Fleer Michael Jordan card, and they're like, oh, give me $100 for it. You're like, $100? I'm like, no, I'm
right.
Good. I'm going to pass.
Right.
Like, I mean, there was probably no exaggeration over the shows, that we would do. I mean, there was probably 50 that walked up to my table.
Damn.
So if I would have bought those 50 and spent the $100 every time, what do I have now? I know for a fact, I have seen it. There is a guy that I know, and he's a local guy. He has 9 BGS 9.5 Jordan rookies. They're in a safe somewhere.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yes, I have seen the picture. I mean, he took them out of state, and and that's smart what he did with it, and that's his retirement.
Yeah.
I mean, he has,
It's amazing how sports cards are continually holding its value as much because it's a card.
It's a piece of paper.
It's amazing. And it's I think some would say it's like like you said with the hedge fund guys, it's more valuable than the dollar itself.
It is. It's crazy. And it has gotten to the point now where there's boxes of cards. We have one in the store. They're called Panini ones. There's one card in the box. The box is $450 for one card. And you could get a scrub.
I did that.
Or you could hit something that's life-changing.
Yeah, I did that again. I wish I had known. So I did that a couple things. I did it with Topps Triple Threads.
Yep.
I think my best card in that was a Luis Robert when he was coming up, and that's before he had his downfall.
Yep.
I had Ozzy Albies, and that's pretty much it. I don't think that I got anything that was that crazy from an auto standpoint. Obviously, the Topps Triple Threads come with a bunch of memorabilia and whatnot. I made like $1,000 on maybe spending $2.
Yep.
And then I went to I went down the Panini Immaculate route on baseball side, again, not knowing that they didn't have the licensing stuff, and it was just a bunch of trash, like Ted Williams, like it's not game worn. It's just a piece that they just slid in there, and I wish I knew that. With the products out, so twofold question here. You have baseball, basketball, football. I think that, and you can correct me on this, it seems like WWE is stepping up their game a little bit on the card side.
Oh gosh, yes. WWE is for wrestling to be where it is now is unbelievable.
It's crazy. I was a big wrestling fan growing up.
Yeah, I was too. I mean, my best memories were, again, 90. I think it was the first year that WrestleMania was at nope, the Taj Mahal in Atlantic City. So I'm going to say that was 1988, 1989.
Yeah.
I was 5 years old, 6 years old, and my father, he spent the money. I mean, back then it was like $400 a ticket.
Yeah.
And, we stayed there. So we were there for the weekend. I mean, back then that was a lot of money.
Right.
And I went to WrestleMania 4 and I went to WrestleMania 5. Yeah. And, that was, or 5 and 6, whatever it was.
That's when Hogan had his run, right? He was.
Yes, Hogan and the Warrior, they were feuding, and then I got to relive that this year, and I took my daughter to WrestleMania in Philly.
That's
and to see it through, I tell everybody it's the same thing. You get these people, I'm not going to Disney World, but if you went to Disney as a kid, and now you take your kid to Disney, you're reliving your childhood through your kids.
That's right.
And when you see the smile on their face, I don't care if it costs you $10,000.
Yeah, sure.
That's what it is. I mean, we were just down there, and my kids had a blast.
Were you there for both nights?
Yes, yes. So, like, my son does not like wrestling.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting though, because I went to again, my fandom of wrestling goes from mid 90s, 95, 96, when the Attitude Era was kind of coming in, and then probably to about 2006, 2007. Then I go off to college and play baseball, and the rest was history. I don't tune in.
Yeah.
But I won a trip at work to go to WWE at TD Garden.
Nice,
dude. I was having a blast. Like it just was, it's a different environment when you're there. So, I brought my buddy Dom, who I mentioned, he was like, man, this gets you back into it. It really brings it up. But what I'm very surprised at what wrestling has done. I listened to the Patrick Bet David podcast, a lot of it's kind of business, politics and stuff. And he went through the subscribers through each individual sport. He said, MLB YouTube subscribers, MLB has somewhere around 20 million subscribers, NFL 50 million, NBA 38 million. WWE has over 100 million subscribers, and it's amazing just that they have evolved, because there was a time where I thought wrestling wasn't going in a really good direction, which I think kind of just my interest of wrestling went away. So then I see now they have the cards, and there's autos, there's the Stone Colds, there's the, and are they as valuable as, let's just compare it to baseball and from a card standpoint, or is it more of the kind of that collector's piece?
Like you said, that's a twofold question.
Yeah.
There is value to them. I mean, I don't necessarily know if it's the same as a baseball or a basketball card.
Sure.
It's for the collectors. And, when you go to a live event, it's a lot different than you are on TV. I mean, if it comes to Providence or something, I'll take my daughter. But the first big event that she went to was a Survivor Series at TD Garden, War Games.
That's probably cool for her.
And that was cool. And it just happened to be there was a card show the same weekend there. So we killed two birds with one stone, and but I mean, it depends whose autograph it is too. I mean, like Hulk Hogan, there's value there because he's the American, he's the American hero. I mean, but there's no value because he signed so much. I mean, I shouldn't say there's no value, but his value is a lot less than somebody else because he signed so much stuff. Yeah. Like he owns, that Hogan Beach shop in Florida, in Orlando and Clearwater. We went in there. I mean, and you can buy an autographed belt.
That's a good point.
It's not like, and he was at Fanatics Fest in New York, the big collectors thing they had. And I mean, it was $249 to $300 to what you get signed.
Jeez.
And these companies have figured out that the trading card industry is booming again. So if you bring him say a figure to sign, it's $200.
Yeah.
But for him to sign a sports card, it's $249 because they know they're getting more on that return of a sports card.
So I heard this thing with and again, this is, I don't know how true it is. I heard this thing where if you bring certain athletes, whether it's wrestling, baseball, basketball, football, you bring something that they want to sign. Some of them won't sign it as, let's just say, for example, Aaron Judge. He'll sign it as to Chris Aaron Judge because it then brings that value down. Is that something you've heard?
They will do that, so that way that you're not able to sell it.
Right.
You know, like we went to Red Sox Winter Weekend at MGM, and with every ticket you get an autograph, and it's all random of who you get.
Sure.
So we had a bat, and we gave it to Roman Anthony to sign. So my son handed it to him with the sweet spot. He actually turned the bat over and signed it on the back, so it wasn't on the sweet spot. So when you go to sell something like that, it decreases the value a little bit.
Wow.
Some of them do that. They know, they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And then the more you sign, obviously, the less value that it has.
Right.
I
got two questions for you here before we wrap up. First thing, going back to what I was saying about, you got the WWE, NBA basketball, or NBA basketball, MLB basketball, and NFL. What particular brands per item do you see having the most value long term? So is it still the Bowman Chromes? Is it the Bowman First for baseball? Is it the Panini Selects? Or is it kind of just whatever's hot?
For baseball, Bowman always for some reason holds their value over a Topps card, even though it's the same exact company.
Yeah. And is it just anything Bowman, or is it like just that Bowman First or Bowman?
The Bowman First normally, and then they have the first edition one. So that holds a little more value than that. And
sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. They don't make the Bowman First as a chrome, do they? I mean, no. Bowman First edition as a chrome.
No, they make
it as paper.
Paper, okay. Yes. And what's so funny is, that the same guy is signing a Bowman card as he is signing a Topps card. It's the same exact company. It comes out of the same factory. And the value of difference is amazing. And then I always say, like, for football, you'll get when they release it. So Mosaic will be first from Panini, and then everybody's chasing Mosaic. And then after Mosaic, you'll get, say, Prism football. And now everybody's chasing Prism. Then after that, you'll get Optic football. Sure. Then after Optic, you'll get Select football. But I tend to find that the autographs in the Prism seem to hold their value like the Optic does, football-wise. Basketball is, again, they don't have Topps doesn't have the licensing, so it's really Select basketball. But, I mean, there's nobody, and LeBron does not sign with Panini because he was exclusive to Upper Deck.
Right.
Just like Michael Jordan's exclusive to Upper Deck because they own a piece of that company.
Right.
So you can't get a Jordan Panini autograph.
Wow. That's crazy.
And it's the same thing like with CJ Stroud this year. So everybody's chasing, his rookie card from Prism, Mosaic, Optic, whatever.
Yeah.
The only company that he signed with was Topps.
Wow.
And Topps did football this year. It was called Composite, which were great looking cards. But again, they don't have the licensing for football, so it was just his jersey number.
That's interesting. What was the biggest card out of that hit the other day, or that break the other day? You think you guys got?
The other day was probably the case hit Zebra.
Okay.
I mean, and it was some lineman for the Giants. Yeah. I mean, there was a kid that I know. I tried to get him in the break. He didn't. He had some Select of his own. He opened it the other day and he got a Zebra Puka Nakua. So that's a $200 card, and it's gambling, sure. So as you're doing it, you want everybody to hit something, but you feel bad when they don't,
right?
And it's just
that's a risk reward, right?
It is, because you could hit again, say somebody hit a 1 of 1, Anthony Richardson. I don't know, I mean, it happens, or we hit a 1 of 5.
Right. In insurance, they call that speculative risk, where you can put in the money, but there's a chance that you might lose that money as opposed to grow that. What is it, as an investor / collector, again, depending on what you do, what goes into the research into what card you want? let's just use baseball, for example. There are thousands of baseball players that Bowman 21 Chrome that I bought, those players are not even through the cycle yet. Even in, they're not even in single low, double A, triple A yet. What goes into the research for any particular sport to say, all right, these are the investments that I want to buy?
I think it's probably more that people chase that guy because he's on their favorite team, So, and what happens is Bowman is a great product because you get the minor league players before they even make it. So a lot of times people will buy Bowman, and I know there was a kid that plays with my son and rec baseball. Sure. And him and his father, they collect Bowman cards because every February they take a trip down to spring training and they have that player sign the card. Mm-hmm. So, and again, that card to them, there's a lot of value to it because they physically did it. But if you go and you try to sell it somewhere, you're not going to get the value because it's not authenticated. Right. Even though they still had that card signed.
Can you get it authenticated still?
You can. There's a company, JSA, they'll actually be at Mohegan Sun, and they'll authenticate it. So, a quick story, I saw a Tom Brady authentic football on Facebook Marketplace, met up with the guy I bought it, has a certificate of authenticity, but when you Google the company doesn't come up. Mm-hmm. So, I took the ball contingent that the autograph is real. So we're going to bring it down to JSA and see if it is real.
Sure. That's very cool. I know we pressed on time here. We got to wrap up here in a bit.
We're good.
What do you see changing in the industry? I think with, I think the breakers changed it a lot. And I do think that with anything business related, investment related, there's always something that happens that transforms it. I just even think about crypto and how that's kind of, changed. Is there something that you see revolutionary changing the game, or you think that this is going to be the trend and we're going to continue to see things go this way for the sports card industry?
There'll always be something that they come up with that will change the game. I mean, I keep going back to like 97 when the grading came out. Mm-hmm. And then it was the early 2000s don't quote me on that exactly, but they started inserting autographs and player cards. I remember like the first autographs that changed the industry baseball wise was 92 Donruss baseball, the Elite Series. There was 10,000 cards. And they were all autographed by different players. And that was the card that everybody was chasing. I mean, and you could buy a Donruss box for $20, right? But you hit that card back then, it was $500-$600, you know. They're always going to come up with something to push the envelope, as the players get better.
Right.
And, some the players that are coming up now are, freaks of nature, for sure. In any sport, and they're going to push the envelope as far as they can. You're going to see a big change in the industry because Fanatics is getting the licensing for NBA and NFL. Yeah, I believe it's next year. Yeah. And Panini's trying to sort of, tie it up in court as long as they can. Mm-hmm. So now that brings up the next question. Panini has been strong for so long. Now, what happens to Panini that they don't have that licensing anymore?
Right.
Do they go by the wayside? So does that mean that all those cards that Panini had was more valuable? Like it's the same thing like, Upper Deck, what happens there? Is Panini a new generation of Upper Deck?
Yeah, good point.
You're going to see, so like the hype this year was the 23-24 Topps Chrome basketball. Mm-hmm. It wasn't licensed, but this is the first time they've done Topps Chrome since 2013-14.
Yeah, very cool.
10 years. So
what's one card that you would love to have in your possession?
That's a tough one. There's so many cards out there, but I would have to say it is the most iconic card ever. If I could buy one or come across one, I would spend the money on a 52 mantle.
52 mantle.
Because that is the iconic card that everybody knows.
Yeah.
I mean, for basketball, everybody knows it's the 86 Fleer Jordan or even the 84-85 Star Jordan. That's what people know.
Right.
When you look at the cover of anything, the iconic sports cards, it's the 79-80 Gretzky. the blue card.
Yep.
That's the hockey card that people want. And then when you get to the football card, I think it's 61 to Namath, the big tall one.
Yep.
That's the football card that people, associate football with, that they want.
Right.
And, there's that one iconic card that they come out with that everybody chases.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for me, I would say it's probably the 52 mantle.
Yeah. Where can people find you in the card shop?
So we are located on 456 West Main Street, Suite 5. We're on the second floor near, right above Westgate Dry Cleaners in that plaza. We're there Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 4 to 8, Saturday and Sunday, 11 to 5. We'll be at Mohegan Sun on the 23rd and 24th. If you listen to the podcast, you do collect, just stop in and tell me that you listened to it, and we'll give you like 5% off.
Awesome. Well, listen, man, this was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Yes. No, thanks for having me.
I'm glad you guys opened up a shop. Someone like me who, I dabble every now and again. I think they opened up one up in Waterford Commons. They have a spot. I was going over to Berlin all the time just to get
the one, I know we got to finish up. The one in Waterford, they have a small case. Like I said, we are we're in it for the long haul.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just fun for me and my kids. It's not my income.
Right. Absolutely. And like I said, that's why I'm excited that you guys put that there, because we've needed something like that in this area.
I've said that for a while. I mean, you can only get so much at Walmart and Target. I mean, a lot of the breakers, they're in tight with those, so they know when the stuff is coming. So the average consumer can't pick it up from your local Walmart or your Target.
Right. I appreciate it, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.